Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire. I've been sitting in for David Pakman today. And hey, folks, you know what we really dislike? We dislike socialists here in the United States. Or at least the Republicans do, right? Everybody that is their opponent gets smeared as a socialist. It's socialism, even though most of them couldn't even tell you what the word means. Everything they hate is a socialist or communist or fascist, even though, again, they just use those words interchangeably because they think that they all mean the same thing. Well, now, Republican Senator Marco Rubio, who is up for re-election this year, his primary is actually today, and he's going to win because he's the only one, he is being smeared by one of his libertarian opponents as a socialist. And maybe smear is not the right word. He's being attacked by his libertarian opponent as a socialist. Libertarian opponent by the name of Misigoy. My apologies if I've mispronounced that. But either way, Mr. Misigoy said in a recent interview that Marco Rubio was a socialist. Now, Marco Rubio is many things, but a socialist, I never thought I would see the day where somebody would accuse him of being a socialist. But then I read this article that was, an interview with Mr. Misigoy. He actually makes a good case. And I typically don't say that about anything that libertarians have to say, but he makes a dang good point. Let me read this. Rubio is pretty uniquely bad. No argument from me there. Right off the bat, you got my attention. Not just in the sense of being unpopular and easy to dislike, but policy-wise. This is a guy who got elected as part of the Tea Party wave back in 2010, and when you listen to him talk about dealing with issues of economic policy, it's all central economic planning. It's not free markets. I would characterize him, by the Republican standards, as a socialist. Is he a socialist by the means of seize the means of production and nationalize everything socialist? No. But is he a socialist by the Obamacare as socialist standard? I'd say yeah. Okay, you're losing me a bit there because Obamacare is, in fact, not socialist, so gonna have to ding you on that one, Mr. Misigoy. He continues, though. Republicans have long presented themselves as the champions of fiscal responsibility, smaller government, and whatnot. I really got turned off to them in the first part of the 2000s. George W. Bush was president for 8 years. For 6 of those 8 years, you had Republican majorities in Congress, and what'd they do with the spending and the growth of government? Well, we all know, right? Government grew, spending grew, deficits grew, all of that because Republicans are a bunch of socialists. Now, I think what Mr. Misigoy was trying to get at is that Republicans believe in corporate socialism, right? That's what you want. Because Republicans love to spend money. They love to give money to corporations. We love to prop them up. We love to bail them out. We love to give them subsidies and tax cuts just for the heck of it. So in that regard, yes, there's lots of socialism here in the United States, most of it at the hands of the Republicans, going directly into the pockets of the big corporations. So in that regard, if of course that's the point he's trying to make here, if that's what he's calling socialism on the behalf of Marco Rubio, I agree with you 100%. Now, there does come a point where I disagree with him, not about Marco Rubio, but about something else he said in this interview. Because then he gets back, to his libertarian leanings. He makes a couple good points. He makes a couple confusing points that make no sense, as I said, with the Obamacare thing. But then he goes back to his libertarian ways, which never make any sense. Here's what he said. We want the market to be as efficient as it can be, because an efficient market delivers goods and services to people at the lowest cost possible, lowers the cost of living overall. That makes it easier for people to live, and it leaves more capital left over for people to create new things that improve people's lives further. Boy, I wish I lived in the fantasy world that you live in, Mr. Misigoy, because literally none of that ever happens, ever. And that, of course, is my big problem with these libertarians. They're living in a fantasy land. Well, if we just let corporations do whatever, of course they're going to take care of people. Of course they're going to lower prices. Hello. What on earth, like, what drugs do you have to be on to make you have visions of this world where corporations inherently do the right thing? They don't. Even with government agencies that are supposed to force them to do the right thing, they still don't do the right thing. What I would encourage all of these libertarians in the United States to do is go get a job at a plaintiff's law firm and work there for at least a year. See, I've worked with a plaintiff's law firm, including actually other law firms all throughout the country as well, for almost 2 straight decades. I have seen some of the worst documents imaginable from every industry imaginable. Whether it's the tobacco industry, the fossil fuel, the chemical industry, food companies. They will literally never do the right thing unless they are forced to pay up for it. And when that happens, they typically only do the right thing while they think people are still paying attention, then they go right back to doing horrible things. So again, libertarians, I beg you, read some corporate documents, then get back to me on whether or not you think corporations will inherently do the right thing for the American public.